This happened a few weeks ago. I had just moved back to my childhood home. I lost my job as a mechanic and my father needed help. I thought I'd be fine here, but it felt strange. The house was old, with creaky walls, and I could hear my past echoing around me. I never really thought much about it until now. The first night of the full moon, I woke up to a loud thumping noise from the attic. I sat up, feeling tired and a bit confused. I thought it might be old pipes or something. Maybe raccoons. I didn't want to deal with it. I pulled the covers over my head and went back to sleep. The next night, the sound came again. Thump, thump, thump. My heart raced a bit this time. I listened closely. It was quiet between each thump. It reminded me of the weird stories my father used to tell when I was a kid. I tried to shake off that feeling. The third night was different. While I watched TV, the lights started flickering. I paused, hoping it was just a power surge. But something felt wrong. My hands were clammy. I went downstairs for a glass of water. In the dim kitchen, I smelled something strange. A rotten scent filled the air. I opened the fridge, but nothing was there. The smell seemed to come from nowhere. A chill ran up my spine, but I dismissed it. I went back upstairs and kept the light on. I had a feeling I wouldn't sleep well that night. Things kept getting weirder. I noticed shadows out of the corner of my eye. I turned quickly, but there was nothing. I felt jumpy. I almost told my father, but I didn't want to scare him. This was still home for him. Then came the fourth night. I was lying in bed when I heard it again. The thumping. It was louder now, like footsteps moving around. I was frozen. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't find the words. I felt more alone than ever. Suddenly I saw a figure. I blinked, and it was gone. Just a flash of something I couldn't make out. I stared into the shadows, feeling very wrong. I couldn't breathe. In the morning, my father asked me, "Did you hear anything unusual last night?" I turned pale. I didn't feel so alone anymore. I could see his face. He looked worried, as if he knew something. He didn't say more, but I felt a cold sweat. I couldn't shake off the feeling. I thought maybe it was just my imagination, but now I wasn't sure what was real. This place held secrets. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't know what was hidden in the dark corners of this old house. I wondered what else was up there in the attic. Was it just a noise or something much worse? The truth still haunts me to this day, and I can't help but think what waits for us next time the moon is full. The fifth night approached, and I braced myself for what was to come. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting. My father had left the house for the evening, and I felt even more alone. I tried to distract myself by watching TV, but my mind wasn't in it. Around midnight, the thumping began again. It felt different this time. Thump, 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 followed by an unsettling pause, then the sound of something dragging across the floor. This routine was becoming all too familiar, yet this noise struck a new chord of terror deep within me. I decided I couldn't ignore it any longer. With trembling hands, I grabbed a flashlight and made my way to the attic door. It was a narrow wooden staircase that creaked with every step. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. But something pushed me forward. I felt like I had to know. As I reached the top, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. A sliver of moonlight crept in, casting a pale glow on the dusty floorboards. I inhaled, the stale air filling my lungs, and pushed the door open. The attic was cluttered with old furniture and boxes, remnants of a life long past. The thumping had stopped, leaving an eerie silence. I scanned the room, but nothing seemed out of place. Just as I was about to turn back, I saw a dusty mirror propped against the wall. That mirror was new to me. I had lived in this house as a kid, and I couldn't recall seeing it before. I approached it slowly, my pulse racing with each step. The dim light revealed a faded reflection of myself, and something else. Behind me in the mirror, I saw a shadow shift. My heart dropped. I spun around, but there was nothing there, just the old junk. I looked back at the mirror, and the shadow moved again, more defined this time. It was a figure, dark and indistinct, standing right behind me. I could feel a chill sweep through the attic. Panic overtook me. I stumbled backward, nearly colliding with a stack of boxes. And then I heard a whisper. It was low and raspy, unintelligible yet chilling. "Get out." I felt a pressure building in my chest. I needed to leave now. I bolted down the stairs, heart racing. As I slammed the attic door shut, I caught a glimpse of the mirror one last time. The shadow had vanished, but I felt its presence linger. Back in my room, I shut the door tightly, breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. I didn't want to believe my eyes. I thought about calling my father, but what would I even say? Was this just my imagination, or had the house truly changed? I knew one thing for sure. Tomorrow I would have to confront my father again. There was more to discover. His worried expression from that morning played in my mind on loop. Whatever it wasn't just on the old attic floor. As the clock ticked toward dawn, I wondered if the house would ever give me a full answer, or if I was just scratching the surface of something darker. One thing was certain. I had to find out before the moon rose again. The next morning I could hardly bear the thought of facing my father. I replayed the events of the night over and over in my head, clutching the edges of my bed as if they could keep me grounded. But I knew I had to talk to him. There had to be an explanation for that mirror, for the shadow that had stared at me. I found him in the kitchen, sipping coffee and reading the newspaper. His usual routine felt oddly comforting, but today it also felt like a mask hiding something beneath. He looked up as I entered, a flicker of concern crossing his face. "Everything okay?" he asked, setting the newspaper down. I hesitated, the words tangled in my throat. "I need to talk to you about the attic," I finally said. His expression shifted, worry replaced by something more like fear. He was quiet for a moment, and I could see the gears turning in his mind. "Why don't we wait until later?" he suggested, trying to maintain a calm veneer. "Dad, please. Last night, something happened." His gaze dropped to the table. I could feel the tension thickening between us. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's just the house. Old houses make strange noises." But I saw something. The words burst out before I could hold them back. "A shadow. In a mirror. I think it's connected to the thumping." He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. "I'll tell you what I know. But you need to promise me you won't go looking for things that are better left alone." I nodded, though a creeping sense of dread filled me. "What don't I know?" He took a deep breath. "When we first moved here, the previous owner warned me about the attic. He said it's a place for shadows. Objects left behind that can take shape. Shadows." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "They can latch on to people, mostly when they're restless or afraid," he said quietly. "They can mimic. That's why I never let you up there." I wanted to scream. It felt like he knew all along. "But why didn't you tell me before?" "What does that even mean?" "Because it's not something to scare a kid with." "It's nothing," he rushed to say, but I could hear the hesitation. "Just promise me you won't go back up into that attic. It's safer. I'm sure it's just your imagination." "Believe me, Dad, it wasn't just my imagination," I shot back, frustration boiling over. "I need to go back. I have to find out what's in that mirror." He looked at me, frustration mingling with concern. I said no. "We'll handle this as a family," he insisted, but his voice trembled. I opened my mouth to argue, but then the lights flickered. Everything in the room dimmed for a moment before returning to normal. My heart raced. Had the house just responded to our conversation? "I'll go check the circuit," Dad said, standing abruptly. As he headed for the basement, I felt a pull to the attic. I needed answers. But just as I debated my options, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. A reflection in the window, dark and fleeting. I turned quickly, but I was alone. "Dad?" I called, but there was no answer. With a sinking feeling, I realized I might not be alone for long. Someone, or something, was waiting, and I had to confront it. Before it confronted me, the moment Dad stepped into the basement, I felt the pull of the attic stronger than ever. I stood frozen in the kitchen, debating my next move. The conflict between staying put and the nagging need to uncover the truth churned inside me. I took a deep breath and made my way to the hallway, the old wood creaking under my feet like the house was warning me to turn back. When I reached the attic door, I hesitated. Memories of Dad's words echoed in my mind, shadows latching onto fear. I could sense something was different now, though. I wasn't just scared. I was determined. I had to know if it was as insidious as he said. With trembling fingers, I turned the knob and slowly pushed the door open. An icy wave of air hit my face, sending shivers down my spine. The attic was darker than I remembered, the corners swallowed by an inky blackness. A single beam of light from the window fought against the gloom, illuminating dust particles swirling lazily in the air. I stepped inside, the door creaking shut behind me, as if it were locking me in. I scanned the room, my heart pounding. I looked over old trunks and forgotten furniture. There was the mirror standing against the far wall, its surface shrouded in dust. I could feel its pull, a magnetic force urging me closer. As I approached, I noticed something strange. The reflection didn't just show me, it felt alive. For a brief moment, I thought I saw a flicker of movement behind me, but when I turned, the attic was empty. Just the old boxes and cobwebs stared back. I reached out to wipe the dust off the mirror, and that's when I saw it. The shadow. It darted across the surface, quick and elusive, almost like it was toying with me. I felt my breath hitch in my throat as panic settled in. "Show yourself!" I demanded, my voice strong despite the fear coursing through me. The shadow paused, then moved again, morphing into a more defined shape, a figure rising within the glass. My heart raced. Was it just my imagination? Or was I truly seeing something? Then, suddenly, everything changed. The temperature dropped. I could see my breath misting in the air. An almost palpable presence surrounded me. The boxes rattled softly, and a low thump resonated from above, making the floor shudder beneath me. I took a step back, nearly tripping over a box. "Dad!" I yelled, panic washing over me. "Help!" But the only sound that answered was the silence of the attic, dragging the fear even deeper into my chest. The mirror shimmered, and the figure inside twisted its face, a cruel mockery of my own. That's when I realized this was no mere shadow. It knew me. It wanted something, and I had to confront it. Without thinking, I lunged for the mirror, desperate to understand what it wanted. My hands grazed the surface, and a jolt of cold electricity shot through me. The mirror rippled, and for a heartbeat, everything spun dizzyingly. Then it stopped, and I was no longer alone. There was a soft whisper, barely audible, but I felt it curling around my thoughts. Help me. A new terror gripped me. Someone, or something, was reaching through, and I was about to find out just how connected we were. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Who are you?" I managed to whisper, but the voice in the mirror seemed to fade. I pressed my palm harder against the glass, willing it to respond. The surface rippled again, and I saw flickers of scenes, blurred images of a room similar to the attic, but different. It was filled with furniture covered in white sheets, forgotten relics of another time. A sense of familiarity nagged at me, but I couldn't place it. Was this a memory, or was it something else? "Help me," came the voice again, sounding more desperate this time. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog creeping into my thoughts. I had to focus. If this shadow wanted help, then I needed to understand what it meant. Suddenly the mirror grew icy under my fingers, and the whisper turned sharper. "Find it." The words wrapped around my mind like a vine, squeezing tightly. "What do you want me to find?" I shouted back, my voice solid in the brooding silence. The shadow flickered, and for a second, the reflection morphed into a young girl, a girl who looked exactly like me. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, colliding with a box that toppled over with a loud crash. The girl in the mirror smiled eerily, her lips curling in a way that made me uneasy. She reached out, or at least her likeness did, as if she were trying to break through the barrier. "Help me." I glanced around the attic, searching for something that might give me a clue. Old trunks, discarded toys, and yellowed books littered the floor. Could there be something hidden among them that linked us? I began to sift through the boxes, my fingers trembling as I pulled old clothes aside. Among the fray, I found a small, ornate box, its surface engraved with swirling patterns. The moment I opened it, my heart dropped to my stomach. Inside lay a delicate silver locket, the chain tarnished, but the pendant still shining. I picked it up, feeling a strange rush of recognition wash over me. I turned back towards the mirror, my heart pounding. "Is this what you wanted?" I held the locket up, my eyes locked with the girl's reflection. She gasped, and in that moment, I felt an overwhelming wave of emotions: fear, sadness, longing. "Free me." Her words blended into a chorus of whispers that swirled around me. "Free you how?" I asked, panic creeping back. I took a step forward, the air thick and heavy around me. The room felt charged with energy, and suddenly the mirror pulsed wildly, distorting her image. The light flickered above me, casting shadows that moved and twisted, growing more pronounced. It was as if the attic was alive, responding to our connection. "You must choose," the girl urged, her voice growing stronger. "Before it's too late." Everything went silent. The air stilled, trapping me in a moment that felt like an eternity. I felt the weight of the locket in my hand. Whatever I did now would change everything. And then, the attic door creaked open behind me. My heart dropped as I turned, scared of what, or who, I might see next. I whirled around, heart racing as I faced the door. My mind was spinning with the girl's plea and the icy grip of the mirror's power. The door creaked again, slowly swinging open to reveal a figure in the dim light. "Emily," a voice called, just above a whisper. It was my brother Jake. He looked half awake, tousled hair and a sleep shirt wrinkled like he'd just rolled out of bed. I felt a mix of relief and frustration. Relief that it was just him, but frustration because I needed answers, not interruptions. "What are you doing up here?" he asked, squinting into the shadows. I was just looking for something." I hesitated, unsure how to explain the madness that had unfolded. "Did you hear?" But I stopped short, the weight of the locket still heavy in my hand. His eyes narrowed. "Hear what?" "Nothing," I muttered, feeling the urgency of the situation, seeing the girl again, knowing she was somehow connected to me. But now, Jake's presence felt like a distraction I couldn't afford. He stepped closer, glancing past me at the mirror. "Why are you messing with that thing? You know Grandma warned us about it." "I'm trying to help someone," I blurted, my frustration bubbling to the surface. "Can you just—" Suddenly, the mirror surged with energy, its surface shimmering violently as the girl's reflection flickered again. I felt a pull towards it, a magnetic force urging me to respond. "Help me," she cried once more, and the urgency turned into desperation. "Emily." Jake's voice cracked with concern. He reached for me, but I shook my head, taking a step forward again, ignoring his protests. "I have to do this," I yelled back, desperate to understand the connection, to fulfill the plea. Jake grabbed my arm, pulling me back sharply. "Don't! You don't know what could happen." Before I could respond, thunder rumbled outside, echoing through the attic, rattling the windows. The air thickened, and I dared not look away from the girl, as a new wave of energy rolled off the mirror. "Find it," she wailed, her eyes pleading. Before the moon sets. I felt a rush of fear. I had no idea what it was, but the shadows around us began to twist, the attic amplifying the girl's conditions. A swirl of dust spiraled around Jake and me, the air crackling like static electricity. "Get back!" I shouted, feeling my voice pierce through the chaos. But then a shadow, darker than the rest, shot out from the mirror, stretching towards us. I stumbled backward, colliding with Jake, who nearly fell over. "What the hell is going on?" he yelled, fumbling for balance. In that moment I could see it clearly. The locket in my hand tethered something between the girl in the mirror and us, and time was running out. I had to make a choice, and fast. "Emily, what are you doing?" Jake's panic shot through me as I determinedly stepped forward again, ready to confront whatever this shadow was calling forth. Then everything went dark. The lights flickered off, plunging us into an abyss as the mirror's surface turned black, swallowing the girl's image whole. "Find it." Her voice faded, leaving only silence in the enveloping darkness. I couldn't escape the feeling that I had crossed a line, one I could never return from. I blinked into the darkness, disoriented and afraid. The echo of the girl's voice was gone, replaced by an unsettling stillness. I felt Jake's grip tighten around my arm, his fear palpable against my skin. "Emily, we need to get out of here," he whispered, voice trembling as confusion clouded his eyes. The mention of leaving sent a jolt through my mind. I had to find out what connected the girl, the mirror, and the locket. I couldn't just leave with nothing. "Wait," I said, shaking my head. "I can't just walk away. I have to find her, find whatever she meant by it." Before Jake could protest, something shifted in the shadows. A flicker of light glimmered from the now void mirror. "Emily." It was low and beckoning, my name a soft echo that seemed to float around us. It didn't feel like Jake anymore. "Did you hear that?" I asked, heart thumping in my chest. I leaned closer to the mirror, desperate to see through the haze. "Ugh, stop it!" Jake practically shouted, breaking the tension. "We don't know what that is." But just as he said that, a faint shimmer appeared within the glass. The outline of a hand reached out, barely visible. I froze. "No. Stay back." I warned Jake, my voice shaky. The hand was eerily familiar. "Emily," he urged, but I was mesmerized by the flickering light. A sense of urgency flooded my mind, urging me to take a step forward to touch the mirror. I was drawn to the girl, feeling a bond that was both terrifying and real. The locket in my hand pulsed with a strange heat, and the shadows deepened in response. I squeezed it tightly, almost expecting the girl to materialize fully. Another flash came, and then I felt the weight shift in the air, a new presence lingering behind us. I turned quickly, breath hitching. What now? My voice barely above a whisper. The attic felt even colder, a chilling breeze sweeping through, whispering words I couldn't comprehend. Jake glanced behind me, eyes wide. "Emily, we should—" Before he could finish, a sound broke through the silence, footsteps, soft yet persistent, echoing from the attic stairs. My stomach dropped. The noise was distinct, deliberate. Someone was coming up. "We're not alone," I said, panic clutching at my throat. "Hide," Jake hissed, his bravado quickly fading. He pulled me to the side behind a stack of dusty boxes piled against the wall. My heart raced faster than ever as I tried to make sense of it all. Who was coming? Did they know what we found? I glanced back to the mirror. It was still shrouded in darkness, but I could feel the energy pulsing within it, urging me to take action. Then, that's when I saw it. A glimmer from the floor. Something shiny caught my eye, reflecting what little light was left in the attic. Without thinking, I reached for it, pulling it closer even as Jake tugged on my arm. "Don't," he pleaded, but I couldn't stop now. It was a tiny silver key. My breath caught in my chest. I wondered if it was the key to finding the girl. If so, what would it unlock? Footsteps drew closer. My heart raced. I knew that whatever happened next, I could never go back to the way things were before. I had no idea what I was getting into, but the stakes had just gone through the roof. I gripped the tiny silver key tightly, its cold metal feeling electric against my palm. The footsteps echoed like a heartbeat, counting down to something that felt inevitable. With a quick glance at Jake, I saw his face pale, his eyes darting around the attic as if searching for an escape route. "What if they see us?" he whispered, his voice strained. "I have to find out what this key opens," I said, my voice barely audible. The key felt significant, like a lifeline. In that moment, it didn't matter that someone was coming. I needed answers. "Emily, this isn't a game. We can't just—" Jake began, but his words were drowned out by the creak of the attic door swinging open. A shadow stepped inside, cloaked in darkness. I pressed myself against the cold wall, holding my breath. It was too dark to see who it was, but I felt a chill run down my spine. The figure moved cautiously, scanning the room. "Is anyone up here?" The voice was gruff, deep, and unsettling. My heart raced in response. I instinctively clutched the key closer to my chest, the urge to use it driving me forward, but sanity held me back, rooted in place. Jake's eyes were wide, fear painted all over his face. I could feel his pulse quicken, matching my own wild rhythm. "Stay quiet," I mouthed, hoping he would understand. I desperately wanted to know what the figure was after, why they had come here. The shadow continued to move, revealing bits of scarred wood and old furniture stacked haphazardly. I squinted, but the dim light from the single bulb hanging above did little to illuminate the figure. I felt a mix of anger and determination swell up inside me. Then my eyes widened as I spotted something on the wall beside the mirror, an ornate lock, glimmering in the faint light. It matched the size of the key I held. This was it. "Jake," I hissed, pulling away from our hiding spot. "What are you doing?" he hissed back. But I was already moving towards the wall, each step feeling like a lifetime. "Trust me," I whispered, glancing back at him. His expression was a mix of confusion and unease, but I couldn't afford to think about that now. I reached the lock and paused, feeling the weight of Jake's hesitation behind me. The figure's footsteps were closer now. My heart raced. I didn't have much time. With a deep breath, I inserted the key into the lock, the cold metal slipping perfectly into place. I turned it slowly, praying it would open. Suddenly, the door creaked open wider, revealing a face that was just recognizable enough to send chills through me. It was an older man, his features twisted in anger, eyes narrowing as they landed on me. "What are you doing here?" he barked. The key turned in the lock with a decisive click, just as I stumbled backward, adrenaline surging through me. The door swung open behind me. I caught a glimpse of light pouring from within, illuminating whatever lay ahead. I didn't know if I was ready for it, but I had no choice now. The mystery was about to unfold, and I was standing at the edge of something I couldn't ignore. The door swung open fully, revealing a narrow passage filled with dust and old yellowing pages plastered on the walls. The light behind me peeked into the darkness, casting long shadows. I swallowed hard, every instinct telling me to run. But curiosity gnawed at me, stronger than fear. "Emily, we need to go," Jake urged, his voice trembling. I glanced back at him, and the panic in his eyes made my stomach drop. But I couldn't turn away now. I was too far in. Ignoring Jake, I stepped into the passage, the key still clutched tightly in my hand. As I moved deeper, the air grew colder, and an unsettling silence enveloped me. I could hear Jake edging closer, inching toward the doorway like a scared cat. "Please," he whispered, his voice barely above a breath, "let's just get out of here." But something in that passage called to me. I could feel it. I took another step, squinting as I searched the walls for anything about the lock. A sudden scrape of metal against metal rang out behind me, and I jumped, spinning around to face the darkened entrance. The older man had stepped in, blocking the light, his expression a tense mask. "You shouldn't have come here," he shouted, his words echoing through the confined space. I stumbled back, searching for an escape, when a low growl resonated from somewhere deeper within the passage. It didn't sound like any animal I had ever heard. My pulse quickened. Jake's breath hitched next to me, and I could feel the current of fear pulsing between us. "We can't go back," I said, panic rising in my throat. The man took a cautious step towards us, hands up, as if to calm us down. But his eyes burned with something feral. "I won't let you take what's not yours," he growled, an edge in his voice that cut through the thick fear wrapping around me. "What do you mean?" I managed to say, clenching the key even harder. The shadows moved behind him, flickering suddenly as a strange glint caught my eye. It looked like a mirror but was distorted, showing a twisted version of our reflections. That's when I saw it. I finally grasped the significance of the key and the lock. It wasn't merely a passage, it was a gateway. Then I remembered the old stories my grandmother told me as a child, whispered tales of things that should remain buried, of family secrets and ancient powers. "Emily," Jake whispered, his voice strained. I could see an odd, almost pleading look in his eyes, but I was already too far gone. The images in the dark mirror called to me, beckoning like a siren. "Stop," shouted the older man, taking another determined step forward. "You don't know what you're doing." Without thinking, I reached out toward the mirror, ready to tear open whatever mystery lay within, but just as I did, a sudden flash of light erupted from the dark, illuminating everything around us. And then everything went dark. I woke up gasping for air, slumped against the attic floor, the cool wood grounding me in reality. Blinking against the fading light, I felt the remnants of shadows peel away from my consciousness. The mirror loomed ominously in front of me, but the unsettling energy felt different now, quieter yet still charged. "Emily!" Jake's voice echoed in my ears. I turned my head slightly, seeing him sitting against the wall, wide-eyed and pale. It took a moment to grasp the situation. The older man was gone, as if he had never existed. The air hung still, but a hushed quality replaced the earlier dread. Are we safe?" I asked, my voice shaky. The key still rested in my palm, cold and unyielding. Jake rubbed his temples as if trying to wipe away the confusion. "What just happened? I thought we were—" I took a deep breath to steady myself. "I don't know. It felt as if I was in some kind of trance. There was this light and then nothing. Then a faint pulse radiated from the mirror. Shocking myself with the thought, I stood and approached it hesitantly. The surface rippled as my reflection stared back with a kind of hunger. I felt the urge to place the key into the lock beside it once more. But something stopped me. My father's warning echoed in my mind. "Emily, don't touch it," Jake said, standing up and moving toward me, concern etched on his face. "We should leave. Whatever this is, it isn't safe." I hesitated, wrestling with the pull of the mirror. Memories of the girl flickered through my mind, the urgency in her eyes, the sense of connection. But what if she needs help? What if we could— "No," Jake interrupted, the panic in his voice sharp. "We can't keep playing with things we don't understand." His words managed to pierce through my growing urgency, and I turned back to the mirror. The whispers began again, a chorus of echoes that wrapped around me like fog. "Help me. Free me." "What do you think it means?" Jake asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. My throat tightened as I weighed the options. I wanted to find out what was real and what was a trick of the mind. Maybe the key was meant to unlock something else, not just this door. "Then let's just go," Jake pleaded, looking toward the attic door, "before it drags us in." "No." The decision came naturally as my fingers curled around the cold metal of the key. "I have to see what's behind it. It's time." I turned to the mirror once more, heart pounding. wishing Jake would understand. I focused on the shimmering glass, ready to act. Yet I paused, sensing the urge of something greater. Before I could second-guess my instincts, the key surged with warmth at my touch. "Find it." The whispers beckoned again, intertwined with hope and dread. They felt familiar. "Emily." Jake's voice was desperate now, but my resolve hardened. I stepped closer to the mirror, key poised for action. Just as I was about to press it against the portal, the attic door slammed open. We both turned. The older man stood there again, eyes blazing with urgency that seemed so much more alive than before. "You foolish children," he yelled, fear and rage intertwined. "You don't understand what you're meddling with." "Then tell us," I shouted back, my frustration boiling over. Panic and defiance filled me. "If you know something about this place, then help us." "Innocence is a weapon here," he growled. "The shadows thrive on fear. They take shapes and lives." "Help us?" I offered, a last-ditch effort. "Whatever's connected to the girl, we need to know how to stop it." "Only if you promise to leave it alone after that," the man shot back. I nodded without hesitation. The weight of curiosity still lingered in my chest. "Fine," he said, taking a step forward. "But you must understand. The key unlocks an old tether. Only through understanding can the shadows be kept at bay. The girl, if you touch that mirror again, you reignite the cycle. You're not the first. Others have tried. But she asked for help," I said, defensive. "And she's trapped," he replied harshly. "Trapped just as the ones before her. You can't free her." I felt the heaviness in the man's words settle over me. The whispers combined with the past echoed in my ears. Would I doom myself or save her, or was each choice just a part of the cycle? "What do we do?" Jake asked, uncertainty etched on his face. The man glanced at the mirror, then back at us. "The locket. Destroy it. Only through the breaking of the bond can the shadows retreat." I hesitated again, the key in my hand feeling heavier than ever. It contained power, but also uncertainty. I took a deep breath and looked at Jake, the weight of the decision hanging heavily between us. "If we do this, there's no turning back. Whatever it is, let's end it here," Jake replied, resolute and shaking. The finality in his voice eased my uncertainty. "Okay," I said, clutching the locket tightly as I stepped back from the mirror. I nodded to the old man, who stepped back, clearing a path for me to act. With swift determination, I held the locket over the attic floor, taking one last breath. I didn't know what was on the other side, or if we were unbonding the girl or myself. Beneath my fingertips, the coldness of the metal faded as I brought it down, ready to break the cycle forever. And then darkness engulfed me once again. When I came to, I was lying in the grass outside the house. The moon hung high overhead, casting a silver sheen across the yard. I felt disoriented and raw, but the sounds of chirping crickets wrapped around me, pulling me back to the present. Jake was sitting nearby, worry etched on his face, but he looked relieved to see me awake. "You okay?" I nodded slowly, my heart still racing. "I think so." "What happened?" "The attic it's gone. The door is just a wall now." He looked up, confusion weaving through his words. "When you went in there, everything went dark. Then I woke up out here. The man was gone too." It felt surreal. I tried to process the implications of what it meant for the shadows. I glanced back at the darkened house, silent and still, as if it were holding its breath. "I can't shake the feeling that it isn't over," I whispered, staring at the locked doors and the attic that was no longer an attic. "I know," Jake replied quietly. "It's like we didn't finish something. What if—" I turned away, emotions tangling in my heart. I couldn't help but wonder if it was all a dark part of our family history that would remain hidden. And a question lingered in the air, overshadowing everything I just confronted. Will we always be connected to whatever that was? I asked him, feeling anxiety rise once more. I guess we always will, he replied softly, still staring at the abandoned house. I took one last look at the structure that had once held so many childhood memories but had become something else entirely. I moved away, pulling Jake along with me. I wasn't sure what waited for us on the other side of the moonlight, what shadows remained, or what would happen when the night fell again. But one thing was for certain. The mysteries hidden in the dark still lingered somewhere ahead.